In this lesson, we will show you how to create spaces in your Revit plan. You may ask yourself, what's the difference between a space and a room? Although at first glance they might seem very similar, spaces actually have a distinct functionality for Revit MEP that we'll go into as we progress through this lesson. Rooms and room tags are primarily used by the architectural side of Revit, and are less useful for electrical, mechanical, and plumbing purposes. For the architectural side, rooms simply provide a way of organizing your space. They define separate areas and they provide tags and labels for it, but they don't really do anything in terms of engineering, which is what the MEP side of Revit is used for. Zones, meanwhile, allow you to draw data that will be used later for engineering analysis. An example of that would be an HVAC analysis, which is covered in another lesson. So basically, if you're planning on using the engineering tools provided by Revit, you're going to have to learn how to create spaces. Now fortunately, there are some similarities between rooms and spaces. Just like rooms, spaces can be assigned names and numbers, they can be labeled, and they can be defined by room boundaries, such as walls. So you can translate rooms into spaces. Alternately though, you can use a utility in Revit called the Space Naming Utility. This tool will actually analyze all the rooms in your design and create spaces based on that analysis. It uses data from created rooms in order to define your spaces. And this is a free utility that you can download from the Autodesk website. Just search for Space Naming Utility. For our purposes here, we're going to stick with the native Revit tools, and we're going to manually create spaces. Now the first thing we need to do is tell Revit that we want to use the rooms that have been created in our linked architectural plan to create our spaces. The process for doing this is fairly simple. The first thing you need to do is take your mouse and move it over the plan in the viewing pane. Then select your plan. It should turn blue. Then from under the Properties window, click on Edit Type. When you click on that, a menu will pop up. Next to the room bounding constraint, click the checkbox. Once you've done that, just click OK. The window should disappear, and now you're ready to create spaces using the existing rooms. So to begin manually placing spaces, the first thing you need to do is go to the Analyze tab at the top of the screen. Then, from the Spaces and Zones panel in the ribbon, you'll left-click on the icon that says Space. You can now create spaces by mousing over the rooms in your plan and left-clicking on them. This is very similar to the process used to create rooms on the architectural side. So I'm going to go ahead and create a couple of spaces here, just so you can see how it works. I'll just click my way through all of the rooms, and each separate room becomes its own space. We've now defined 4 separate spaces. To exit the editing mode, just click on the Modify button at the top left. Now that we've created the 4 spaces, we have a lot of the same options available to us as with rooms. You can click on the name of any space in order to rename it, and you can also reassign it a different number. When you're done editing your given space, just click the Modify button. And now for a quick review. In this lesson, we covered 2 different methods for creating spaces. That is, automatically defining them with an external program, or manually creating them. We explained the difference between rooms and spaces, and walked you through the process of creating spaces manually. Thanks for watching.